Hello and welcome everyone to Module 1 of your Shift Network course, Activate Your Health, Abundance, and Love with Emotion Code, with Dr. Bradley Nelson. Today's session is titled Introduction to Emotion Code. I'm Isabella, your host. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Bradley Nelson to the session. Welcome, Dr. Bradley.
Well, thank you. It's great to be here with all of you. I want to thank you for coming. And I think this is going to be a lot of fun. I've been teaching this work now for quite a few years. And this, I think, is going to be unique. And I think we're going to have a great time together. All right. So welcome to the Emotion Code course. I've got some goals for the course here. I want to teach you the emotion code so that you can use it to help yourself and those that you care about. I want to give you hands-on experience and increase your level of confidence with this work and teach you more about the true underlying causes of sickness and disease and open your eyes and entertain you and inspire you and move you. And if by the end of this 7-session course, if we've achieved all of these, then I think it'll be a successful course. And I think you'd probably agree. So this is me, obviously. I'm a retired holistic chiropractor and a medical intuitive. I'm an expert in energy medicine. And of course, I'm the author of the Emotion Code and the creator of the Body Code system. And we'll talk a little bit about the Body Code towards the end of this course so that you can understand what that is. So if you're curious, we have about 8,500 certified Emotion Code practitioners now in over 80 countries around the world. And it's just kind of a phenomenal thing. It just keeps growing and growing and growing. And the reason why is because it works. And if it didn't work, it wouldn't keep growing. So these people discovered that they have this energy healing superpower, and the Emotion Code may help you to find yours. Now, something that I'll probably mention again is that I believe that every single one of us, every man, woman, and child on this planet, has the innate ability to heal themselves and heal their loved ones in many, many ways. We all have that innate ability, but somehow along the line, we've given up that birthright. And we're in this situation now in the world that's kind of odd, where instead of really knowing how to take care of ourselves and taking care of ourselves, we, by and large, we've abrogated our abilities and our innate birthright of healing to others. And the purpose of the Emotion Code is to start giving back that innate healing ability to you. Okay, that's what this is all about. And there's really nothing more fun, I think. So this is the book, The Emotion Code. It was first published in 2007. And this is the hardcover second edition. And just for fun here, in case you're brand new to this, I thought it might be fun to share some quotes with you. Tony Robbins actually did the foreword for the book. He said, I believe that the discoveries in this book can change our understanding of how we store emotional experiences, and in so doing, change our lives. The Emotion Code has already changed many lives around the world, and it is my hope that millions more will be led to use this simple tool to heal themselves and their loved ones. And it was interesting how I connected with Tony. His team called us one day probably about 5 years ago now, and said that Tony and his wife Sage were really interested in finding out more about the Emotion Code and what we were doing. And so they flew us out to their house. They've got a beautiful home in Palm Beach in Florida. And so we ended up working with them, and we've been to their home a number of times, and they're amazing people. And it was fun because I don't know about the rest of you, but I'm sure that there are people on this call whose lives have been changed by Tony's teachings. And that's certainly what happened to my wife and I. I mean, it was fun because we were able to sit around with Tony and his wife in their living room. And I was able to tell Tony how 30 years ago, my wife and I were watching late night TV, I guess, and we saw one of his infomercials and bought his course. And it actually did change our lives. It was fun to share that with him. So anyway, A lot of you are familiar with Alex Lloyd. He's a good friend of mine, author of the Healing Code and the Love Code and the Memory Code. We're kind of on the code track, he and I. He said, if you're looking for a simple and inexpensive way to get healthier, make more money, and have more love in your life, look no further. Simple, effective, and powerful is a method that anyone can learn and use. In fact, even kids can learn and use it. And that's one of the most exciting things about it. A lot of you are familiar with Greg Braden. Greg's one of my favorite people in the world. He said the emotion code catapults us light years beyond conventional explanations of seemingly random symptoms and disease. This book is about you, your life, and every relationship that you'll ever experience. I have no doubt that the emotion code is destined to become a cornerstone for the healing of the new millennium. So these are really wonderful words, high praise from some of my favorite people on the planet. Another one of my favorite people, of course, is Dr. Joe Dispenza. And he said in this wonderful book, Dr. Brad Nelson gives us a truly evolved model of how we get sick and how we can indeed heal. He brilliantly teaches us by what means a broad spectrum of trapped emotions can be stored in our bodies, limiting the expression of health. And then he provides us the practical tools to free ourselves from the chains of those self-limiting emotions. Read it and become your own healer. And that's what this course is all about, teaching you to become your own healer. And what can be better than that, right? So first of all, I believe that this work has really come from above. Now, we all believe different things, and that's totally fine. But what I like to do is have a moment of silence. I like to do this before I work on people. And I definitely like to do this before I do a course like this. So this is something that we'll be doing at the beginning of each one of our modules. We'll just take a moment and ask for help from that higher power and focus on gratitude. Okay. So we'll just take about 30 seconds for this. All right. And then we'll continue. Here we go. Well, every Monday morning, we have a company huddle, we call it, where we all meet together online and we read this phrase together. This is our purpose, the purpose of our company, Discover Healing, Inc., and purpose of the emotion code. It's all about healing the world by empowering you. It's all about you. It's not about me. I'm the teacher. I'm here to show you what you can do, but it really is all about you and all the healing that can flow through you to yourself and to those that you care about. So, just for fun here, let's go ahead and do a little demonstration of the emotion code. To start off with, what I would like to do is I'd like to demonstrate how this works for physical pain. Okay. And we're going to be talking about all these other aspects of health and how the emotional baggage that we have affects us in so many ways. But I want to start with that just to give you an idea how this works. So here's the criteria. If your room doesn't look too bad, okay, behind you. And if you're in pain right now, okay, right now, and if that pain is significant, we'll say on a 0 to 10 scale of pain, 0 being no pain at all, and 10 being the most you can think of. If you're at least a 7 or above, okay, and you meet all those criteria, and so if you're a 7 or above in pain and you're in pain right now, okay, for the purposes of this demonstration, yesterday doesn't count. You need to be in pain right now, this moment. I don't care where the pain is, it doesn't matter. But if you're at least a 7 on a 0 to 10 scale,
You can choose whichever person you would like.
oh yeah, okay, great. I think let's choose Inez here. Here we go, Inez. Let's see. So
Hello.
there we go. Hi. Okay, great. I'm going to take some notes here really quick, Inez. So tell me, first of all, what's going on? You're in pain right now. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And what's going on? Where's the pain at?
in my belly, my colon.
Okay, in the colon. And how bad on a 0 to 10 scale? How would you rate this?
About a 7.
It's about a 7. Okay, and how long has this been going on?
For long time, comes on and off.
On and off. Okay, and so months or years or
Many years.
many years. Okay. All right. Well, you've probably tried all kinds of things to take care of this, then I would imagine.
Yes, indeed.
Okay. Was there anything that you can think of that brought this on initially?
Um, nothing that I can think of.
Nothing rings a bell. Okay. All right. Well, no problem. So let's do this. Here's what we're going to do. I'm going to yeah, I think you can see this. All right. So this is the emotion code chart. Now, all of the emotions that we experience as human beings are represented on this chart. And so even though in the dictionary you'll find more definitions, more names for certain feelings, what we find is that this chart is enough because your subconscious mind will know the closest approximation to whatever emotion we're after. So we're going to go ahead and do a quick session on you and see if we can make some change happen in your body by releasing some emotional baggage. And then I'll explain more about how this works when we're done. All right. So first of all, what I like to do before I work with someone is I like to take a moment again and just ask for help and try to make that connection with that higher power. And it's not a denominational thing. It's not a religious thing. It's just if you believe that there is a higher power, whatever you might call it, source energy or God or universe, whatever. I'm going to do that here right now. Okay, here we go. Okay, great. And I don't know about you, but I always feel like I need all the help I can get, right? So let's see, Inez. What I'm going to be doing now is I'm going to be using a form of muscle testing that we call the ring and ring test. You're all going to be learning this, but basically how this works is it has to do with the principles of quantum physics. And there's a principle that's known as entanglement. And that means that energies can become entangled at any distance. And so by asking for help, I'm hoping that now my energies are entangled with Inez's energies so that I'll be able to really communicate very clearly with her subconscious mind. The human body has this amazing ability to set aside its own needs to act on behalf of someone else. And we've had this ability all along, but now we're realizing it. So what I want to know is, and by the way, when I do this test, what you'll see, and I'll exaggerate the movements a little bit so you can see very clearly. When I ask a question of Inez's subconscious mind, her subconscious mind will instantly communicate that information back to my subconscious mind because our energies are entangled. And the answer then will manifest on my body as my body being normally strong or slightly weaker. And so what you'll see is that a yes answer will manifest as the rings staying together. When I try to pull them apart, they'll stay together. And if the answer is no, coming from her subconscious mind to mine, my body will be slightly weaker and the rings will break apart. Okay. So the first thing that I want to know is, Inez, are we connected energetically? Yes. Okay. So we're connected. Our energies are entangled. I can ask questions and get instantaneous answers from her subconscious mind. So that's how we can do this at a distance. And we'll be talking about this more in, I think maybe in the next course or the course after, but in detail. So anyway, let's ask. The question is, do you have a trapped emotion that we can release that's contributing to this pain in your abdomen? And the answer that's coming from her subconscious mind is yes, that's strong. So now what we do is we look at our chart of emotions here. We've got 60 emotions. And I asked, do you have a trapped emotion that's contributing to this stomach trouble, this abdominal pain that is in column A? And the answer was no. So is it in column B then? It has to be. That's yes. And is it in one of the odd rows in column B? And that was yes. And so is it in row 1 or row 3? So it's in row 3, column B. Okay. So the emotion has to be one of these 5, either confusion or defensiveness or grief or self-abuse or stubbornness. Which one is it? I don't know, but her subconscious mind knows, and I'm connected. So let's ask, is this emotion confusion? No. So is it defensiveness? No. Is it grief? No. Is it self-abuse? No. Is it stubbornness? No. Okay. So, gee, that seems weird, doesn't it? We're taken to a column in a row and all the answers are no. That's funny. It should be one of those, right? So let's ask it again. Is this emotion in column A? No. So is it actually in column B, row 3? Yes. So right out of the gate here, we're getting a little more advanced teaching. But what happens is in the emotion code, when you're taken to a column and a row, and you can't identify which emotion it is, it almost always means that the emotion was actually inherited. So at conception, we receive emotional energies from mom or dad. And there's another module where we're going to be talking about this in a lot of detail. But let's just ask this question. Is this an inherited trapped emotion? And the answer is yes. So is it inherited confusion? No. Is it inherited defensiveness? No. Is it inherited grief? It's an inherited emotion of grief. Okay. So I'm just going to make a note of this really quick. Okay. And you got this from one of your parents at conception. Did you get it from your mother? No, this came from your father. Okay. That's the only other option, right? It's got to be either mom or dad. So did your father get this from somebody earlier? He did. Did he get this from his father? He did. Okay. So when your father was conceived, his father shared this energy with him. Okay. And does it go back even further? It does. So how many generations? You see, your subconscious mind knows all of this information, which is really incredible. But how far back does this go? Does it go back 10 generations from you? Yes, at least that far. Does it go back 15 generations? Yes. Does it go back 20 generations? No. So does it go back 19 generations or 18 generations or 17? It goes back 17 generations. Now, 17 generations, if we say 17 generations times about, say 26 years for a generation, it comes out to about 442 years minus 2021, roughly 1579. So, probably give or take 20 or 30 years. So Inez, what we know from this is that you have ancestors, okay? You have ancestors, and one of them had a bad day, apparently. Something happened. Who knows? I think eventually you may find out, you someday, we all pass away, we go through the veil, and I think we may meet some of these ancestors. And so this one might tell you what this was that happened. Just for curiosity's sake, let's ask about this ancestor. Was this a male that this started with? No, this is a female that this actually started with, but this energy was passed down to you. And so now let's ask, is there more we need to know about this? No. So let's go ahead and we'll release this. Now, we can release a trapped emotion like this using a magnet. Any kind of magnet is fine, or you can use your hand. The hand is also magnetic. I happen to have a magnet here, so I'll use this. And when it's inherited like this, we do 10 swipes of the magnet over the governing meridian, okay? And the governing meridian is that meridian that starts at the tailbone and it goes straight up the back and over the top of the head to the inside of the upper lip. And you can use a magnet or your hand on any length of that meridian to release the emotional energy. Now, Inez, what I would like you to do, first of all, let's ask, did we release that inherited trapped emotion from you? We did. And what I'd like you to do, Inez, is I'd like you to stand up and move around a little bit. Just stand up and walk around a little in your room there. And you can come back and sit down. Now, the reason I like to have people get up and move around a little bit is because when we release something like this, like a trapped emotion, and they're in physical pain, when they stand up and move around, things will often shift into new places and things will move around and settle into new positions and so on. So Inez, go ahead and have a seat back down again. And let's ask on a 0 to 10 scale, how does that feel now compared to how it was feeling before?
About a 3.
It's about a 3. Okay, awesome. That's good. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's see if we can find another trapped emotion. You see, what I have found is that trapped emotions are the single biggest underlying cause of physical pain that people experience. 90% or more of all physical pain that people experience is actually being caused by emotional baggage. So we've cut the pain, it was a 7, so we've cut it in more than in half. So let's ask the same question again. Inez, do you have a trapped emotion that we can release that's contributing to this pain in your abdomen? Yes. Okay, great. So at this point, her subconscious mind knows what the emotion is. Okay. And we have to play charades essentially with her subconscious to decipher it. Okay. So what's the emotion? Is it in column A in the chart? No. So it must be in column B then. Is it in one of the odd rows? No. So we have 15 emotions left. Is it in row 2 in column B? No. Is it in row 4 in column B? Yeah, it's in row 4 column B. There we go. So it's one of these. Is the emotion depression? No. Is it frustration? No. Is it indecisiveness? No. Is it panic? No. Is it taken for granted? No. So once again, right out of the gate here, we're being taken to an inherited trapped emotion. And this is actually a little more advanced, but we're going to cover all this later. So we're just getting a little intro, a little taste of this. So is this an inherited trapped emotion? It is. Okay. So is it inherited depression or frustration? Is it indecisiveness or panic? This is an inherited trapped emotion of panic. Okay. And so, it's interesting because science now, scientists are finding out as they do research with animals that animals somehow will do this. If they have some kind of a traumatic experience or something intense that happens to them, they will oftentimes pass down that that memory, that traumatic experience in some way. And they found that in lower animals, they'll do this up to 14 generations down the line. And they don't really know how this works yet. They're trying to figure it out, but this is how it works. You guys are just early adopters. You're ahead of the game. So it's a trapped emotion of panic that was inherited. Did you get this from your father? No, this one came from your mom. Okay. When you were conceived, she shared this little bit of energy to you. And did she get it from somebody earlier? Yes. From her mom? No, this came from your mother's father. And does this go back even further? It does. How many generations? Does it go back 10 generations? No. 9? No. 8? It goes back 8 generations. So a couple of 100 years. Okay. So is there anything else we need to know about this? Not really. So let's go ahead and release this then. Once again, we do 10 swipes. Okay. There's 5. There we go, 10 swipes. And let's ask, did we release that trapped emotion from you, that emotion of panic? Yes. Did it also release from your mother and her father? Yep. And from all those other ancestors all the way back? That's what we get. It did. Now, Inez, why don't you stand up and move around a little bit? Okay. Stand up and walk around a little. And let's see how that's feeling now compared to how it was feeling before. Remember, it was a 7, and we released that inherited grief from 17 generations ago. That took it down to about a 3. And so Inez, come back and sit down now, and let's see if you can put a number on it now, 0 to 10. Let's see how that's doing.
I would say about a 1 now.
About a 1. Okay, fantastic. All right, good. Well, when was the last time it felt this good, just out of curiosity?
A few months ago.
A few months ago. Okay. Awesome. All right. Well, thank you, Inez. Good. Hopefully that'll just continue to feel better and better and better as we go. Okay.
Thank you.
You're so welcome. All right. Cool. So that gives you a little glimpse into this and how this works. It's really kind of fun. So I just want to share with you our logo and the meaning of our logo. The name of our company is Discover Healing. And the reason why we chose that name is because that's what we do. We help people to discover healing for themselves, but also to discover their own healing abilities. That's what it's about. And so I have to tell you, we spent about 3 years trying to find a logo. We paid a number of different artists to create a logo for us. Nobody was ever really able to create it. And then my wife, Jean, who's brilliant and amazing, and is an artist as well, just came up with this, and we think it's really perfect. So let me explain this. At first glance, this looks like a labyrinth, right? And many of you have probably experienced going into a labyrinth and slowly walking in and then walking out and so on, and leaving all your issues behind, and good stuff, right? So healing is it's a path. And so when you start on this path, at a certain point, as you come around the circle here, at a certain point, you realize that healing has to do with connecting to that power that created everything. And whatever you may believe is fine. We all believe different things. But at a certain point, you'll realize the importance of that. And we'll talk more about that later. But then as you continue around the labyrinth, eventually you get into the center of it, and you find out that it's really all about love. It's really all about love. It's all about that heart. And Gene created an open heart here because, of course, part of what we do with the emotion code is we open that heart and enable your ability to give and receive love more freely. And so it's really perfect. There are some other meanings of this too. You'll notice that on the bottom half here, if you were to just take this bottom piece, it looks like a smile, okay? Because healing is a happy thing. And it also looks like a little bit like concentric circles, like what you'd see if you drop a rock into a pond, okay? You'd see those ripples spread out. And what we believe is that when you work with people and you release this emotional baggage, the ripples can spread out from what you have done. That person who maybe wasn't able to live their life fully, maybe they couldn't find their soulmate, maybe they weren't able to create the creations that only they were capable of creating. And by releasing their emotional baggage, now they're able to do those things. And the ripple effects from that life now that is being more fully lived spread out like ripples from a stone dropped into a pond, and they go on for eternity and they never really end. And so that's the meaning of the logo. All right. So let's see. All right. So first of all, let's talk about energy and understanding energy. Nikola Tesla, of course, one of the most amazing geniuses that ever lived, said, if you want to find the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. And he, of course, was absolutely right. And that's exactly what we're going to be teaching in this course, because emotions are all vibration and energy. So understand that everything is made of one thing, and that is energy. So the chair that you're sitting on, your desk, the walls of your house, the earth, the sun, the moon, the stars, the whole universe, everything is made of that one thing, ultimately, energy. And all of that energy has a vibration, and whatever vibration it has makes it what it is. And now some energy takes the form of our physical bodies, okay? And some energy is invisible. For example, that spirit, the chi, the ki, the prana that is within you, that's invisible to these eyes that we have, these physical eyes, but yet it is energy as well. And it's just on a different level. But the bottom line is you are a being of pure energy. And it's important to understand that, because when you wrap your mind around that, the rest of this becomes easier. So take a look at your hand for a moment. Okay, you've seen that hand before all of your life. It looks solid, but it's really 99% plus empty space. Okay, it's actually 99.9999999% empty space. And so if you continue to magnify your hand under a microscope, at about 40 power magnification, your hand might look like this, the cells that make up your hand. And at about 850,000 times magnification, your hand might look like this. This is a strand of DNA, okay? And it doesn't look anything like your hand, but of course, it is still your hand, right? Part of your hand anyway. And if you, hang on a second. There we go. At a million power magnification or more, you might be looking face to face with a single individual atom, right? And what's in the atom? Well, really nothing. It's just empty space with some little infinitesimally tiny energies that are zipping around at the speed of light. And that is really what you are. That's what we all are. That interesting. So these bodies of ours consist of almost infinite numbers, really, of these little tiny energies that are all zipping around at the speed of light, and they're all kind of flying in formation, really. All these energies, all the energies that make up your body are all flying in formation, keeping your body from flying apart and allowing you to have this earth experience that you're going through, right? And so it's really interesting when you start thinking about it. Now, what's really fascinating too about energy is that directed intention will alter the behavior of energies. And they found this in the experiments that they've done for many years now in quantum physics, looking at these subatomic particles and energies. And what they find is that these energies will change their behavior depending on what the observer is expecting to see. You see, and so this is how, on a quantum level, we influence our reality. We influence the world around us. We essentially create the world that we inhabit by our intentions, because those little energies will respond to those intentions. And so there are physicists who believe that those energies within the atom are somehow intelligent in some way, or at the very least, are being guided and influenced by some divine intelligence that is the matrix of all matter, to quote, I think it was Niels Bohr. So we have power over these energies that are in our bodies. And we haven't really known this yet. We've been in this world for a long time. We're finally starting to realize that our bodies are energy, and that there are things that we're capable of that we never would have ever imagined before. So we have this dual nature going on. We have this physical body, but we're really spiritual beings having a physical experience. And of course, let me go back to that slide for a minute. Oops, hang on, there we go. So here you can see this person has died, and that energetic essence, their spirit, their chi, prana, whatever you want to call it, is leaving their body. And of course, you've all heard of experiences where people, they die on the operating table, or there's a terrible car accident or something, and that spirit goes out of their body. And one of my favorite stories was where this person is in a traffic jam, and they can see that up ahead there's been a car accident and it looks pretty bad. And so this person offers a prayer, sitting in their car, for this whoever has been in this injury up ahead of them. And so the person who was in the accident tells the story of how she finds herself all of a sudden floating above her car, and she's looking down on the car, and she can see the rescue crew using the jaws of life trying to pull her car apart and save her. And she looks back down the row of all these cars, and suddenly, out of the top of this car, she sees this beam of light going up from the car up into the sky. And she finds herself suddenly seated in this car next to this person who's offering this prayer for her, right? And then she ends up being back in her body. She's in a coma for a while. Well, when she gets out of the hospital, she goes to, she actually buys flowers and goes to this person's home, because she memorized the license plate of this person's car and was able to then bring flowers to that person and thank them for praying for her. It's such an amazing thing. So anyway, Kirlian photography is interesting because it shows us what we believe is the energy field in things. So these are some mushrooms. Kirlian photography was developed in 1939 by a guy named Semyon Kirlian in the Ukraine. And it shows, for example, here we have the energy field. This is a leaf. There's no light that's used, by the way, in Kirlian photography. And so the energy field here of the leaf, you can see radiating out, and these are the fingertips, okay, and what they look like. And of course, we know that the fingertips of healers are larger and more pronounced than most people. And also we know that if a person is sick, then these nice looking energy patterns around a person's finger will appear to be broken and damaged and so on. So the question is, does the energy field exist without a physical body? And so scientists cut off the top of a leaf that was living, and they took the living half of the leaf. They threw the top half away, took the rest of the leaf into the lab and made a photo, a Kirlian photo. And what they saw was that that half of the leaf that had been cut off and thrown away still showed up on a Kirlian photo. So if you look at this closely, it looks like almost looks like lightning going on in here. But this is this invisible energy body, this invisible part of leaves and animals and human beings. And so I look at this and believe that this is really the energy blueprint, okay? That spirit, that energy body inside of you that is generally ignored by Western medicine anyway. And I believe that this energy blueprint is what helps our bodies to heal and regain balance and regenerate. And what trapped emotions do is they will affect that blueprint. They will distort that blueprint and disrupt that healing process. So let's talk a little bit more now about emotions. So if you think about it, life without emotions would not be very fun. Even though sometimes emotions are hard to deal with, sometimes they're negative, sometimes they're hard to process. But if we didn't have any emotions, we wouldn't have any highs or lows. And so life would just be a flat line. And I don't think it would be a life worth living. I think it would just be a gray, dull kind of existence. Our lives are colored by our emotions. So think about this. If your life is a tapestry of all the things you've done and experienced, it's the emotions that really give color to the tapestry of your life. And of course, those emotions provide motivation and direction and contrast. And what are emotions really? Well, emotions are on an energetic level, they're pure vibrating energy. And they are generated by certain organs and glands. And you may have noticed on the emotion code chart that there were some organs and glands listed on there. We'll talk more about those later. But each emotion has its own very unique vibrational frequency. And it's really our emotions, I think, that make us human, although emotions also make dogs, dogs, and cats, and horses, because they also have emotional baggage. And we're going to be talking more about that in one of these modules that's coming up here. By the end of this course, you're all going to be animal whisperers, because when you learn how to do the emotion code for people, you automatically know how to do it for animals. And it's really a lot of fun. So emotions are energy too. Is there anything in the universe that is not ultimately just energy? And of course, the answer is no. Everything is energy, including those emotions. But again, every emotion has its own unique vibrational frequency. So grief is a different frequency than frustration, and that's different from anger, and that's different from shame, and so on. So we all go through this emotional experience, right, at times. And so how does this work? Well, when you start to feel an emotion, something has happened, something's going on in your life, you're being faced with something, or someone has said something to you, or some situation is occurring. And what happens is your body starts to generate this vibration, this frequency that we refer to as whatever emotion it is. And so then what happens is you feel that emotion and the thoughts and the physical sensations that come along with that emotion. And then you let that emotion go and you move on with your life. Okay. So emotions that we feel are transitory, right? But if either the second or the third step in this emotional experience is interrupted in some way, a trapped emotion can occur. So let's take a look at number 2. How could that be interrupted? Well, let's imagine that maybe you grew up in an angry household. Maybe your father was a rageaholic or something, and you learned and decided that anger is a very bad emotion and you don't ever want to go there. So let's say that someone someone does something to you that or abuses you in some way, or maybe hurts you in some way, or takes something from you, and this emotion of anger starts to come up for you, but you decide, because of your previous decisions, you're not going to go there, and so you just refuse to allow that emotion to be felt. That will create a trapped emotion. Now, on the other hand, in number 3, what can happen is, let's say that something upsets you, and you're feeling maybe the emotion of resentment for somebody, and maybe instead of just feeling it a little bit, you decide to really become involved with that emotion, and you decide to really go into that resonance and that frequency and that vibration, and you're really feeling it intensely. That can also result in that energy becoming trapped in your body. And so that's how we develop trapped emotions. So that emotional energy becomes stuck in the body, and it's more likely to happen if the emotion is overpowering, or if you're sick or tired or generally imbalanced in some way. All right. And also if there are other similar emotions that are already trapped in your body. Okay. Now, not every emotional experience that we go through becomes trapped in the body. And that's a good thing, because otherwise the emotion code would it would take a lifetime to clear all the trapped emotions. But luckily, it's just a subset that gets stuck. So your emotional baggage. I love that term, emotional baggage. We usually use that term when we're referring to somebody else, right? We say things like, "Oh man, she's got a lot of emotional baggage," or "Yeah, he's really got a lot of emotional baggage from what he went through, and so on." One of the fun things that's well, not so much fun, but interesting, that I've observed over the years is that our emotional baggage can resonate with another person's emotional baggage. And so here's a woman, for example, who's got some emotional baggage, and the symbolism there is that it's maybe some yellow Samsonite. Okay, the specific kind of emotional baggage that she has. And what can happen is she may run into somebody at some location, and that person may have the same kind of yellow Samsonite luggage, the same kind of emotional baggage. And that baggage can set up a resonance. And so her baggage can resonate with that other person's emotional baggage. Suddenly, they may find themselves being attracted to each other. What's really going on is their baggage is being attracted to their baggage, to the other person's baggage. And so then they end up in a relationship, and it's not going to work out, because really what brought them together was their baggage. If you can imagine, this happens all the time. We should have a moment of silence for all the relationships that have started and ultimately failed because it was the baggage that created it. And of course, it can create sabotage for you. Yes. So no two trapped emotions are the same. They're all different. And each one is from a different moment in time. Okay. And each emotion, each trapped emotion, has a very unique, very specific vibration. And the emotion that is trapped includes all the information about when it occurred and who was involved and so on, and also what it's doing to you mentally, emotionally, and physically. So this understanding that the organs and the glands actually create the emotions that we feel, those emotional energies, is an understanding that goes back thousands of years. And so what we believe is that these organs and glands create these emotional energies. And when that emotional energy is created, if it becomes trapped, it may become trapped and stay in the organ or the gland wherever it was created. Okay. Or it may become trapped somewhere else. So let's say, for example, that maybe you've been out throwing the ball. Okay. Maybe you've been out throwing the ball. Maybe you're a baseball player. Maybe you've been throwing a football. Maybe you've been just using your arm. Maybe you're playing tennis or something. And maybe your shoulder is a little bit off. Maybe what happens now is that trapped emotion lands in the shoulder, because maybe while you're playing, or maybe shortly afterwards, you're feeling something emotionally intense. So what will happen is emotional energies will tend to gravitate to places where there is an existing imbalance. Okay. Like maybe some kind of an injury or inflammation, or maybe a little low grade infection or some toxicity or nutritional deficiency or whatever. Most of them, about 90% of them, will lodge in the torso of the body. Okay? But they can actually lodge really anywhere. Okay. So a trapped emotion is a ball of vibrating energy about that size. Okay. About the size of an orange, maybe a little bigger, maybe about the size of a cantaloupe. And these can lodge literally anywhere in the body. Okay. Anywhere in the body. Now, when you have a trapped emotion like this and an emotional energy that's lodged, it may cause trouble right away, or it might cause trouble decades down the road. Now, so how they affect us? Well, our symptoms depend from trapped emotions. Those symptoms that arise may depend on the age the person is, their own emotional intelligence, okay? How able they are, in other words, to deal with emotions that are coming up for them. People that are able to sail through life on a really even keel, people that seem to be kind of unflappable. We've all met people like that. They have less trapped emotions, as you might imagine. Okay. The rest of us that are a little more easily affected by emotions tend to have more trapped emotions. It also depends on our physical wellness and also on our genetic makeup itself. Okay. So every trapped emotion is like a sword with two edges. Okay. Trapped emotions affect us emotionally and they affect us physically. And the more trapped emotions you have, the more trapped emotions you'll tend to create, unfortunately. Okay. So trapped emotions can cause you to make the wrong assumptions. Not that any of you have ever done that. Okay. They can cause you to overreact and misinterpret behavior. And sadly, they can cause you to short circuit what might otherwise have been perfectly good relationships. They can do all of these things to us. They also are the underlying cause of emotional and mental issues. Trapped emotions are the single biggest underlying cause, in my experience and opinion, of depression, of anxiety, of phobias, post-traumatic stress disorder, or PTSD. They're also a contributing factor in mental illnesses. Okay. So all of these things, but they also have physical effects on us. Trapped emotions tend to create discomfort in the body or pain. As I said before, they contribute to fatigue and they open the door to illness, and they disrupt your body's innate ability to heal. They interfere with the function of your organs and glands, and they will lower your immunity. And of course, by doing so, they enable disease. Now, especially in the age that we're living in now, the age of the global pandemic situation, et cetera, you want to have an immune system that is functioning as well as it possibly can function. And I'm here to tell you that emotional baggage is the single biggest impediment to that for the average person. And so getting rid of that emotional baggage is really, really important. All right, so let's take a look here. We're going to do another demonstration. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and skip to the end, and we'll do our demo, and we'll do some more demos at the end. Here's the chart of emotions. We looked at this before. All the emotions are represented here. Okay, and again, your subconscious mind will know the closest approximation to that. All right. So finding trapped emotions is pretty easy. You just need some tools. You need a way to find answers, which of course we use muscle testing. You can also use things like a pendulum, and we'll talk about that later and how that works. You need a magnet or your hand, okay, because it's also magnetic. And you need the emotion code chart unless you have it memorized, which I do not, okay, even though I've been doing this all these years. So one of the questions that often comes up is, well, how many trapped emotions does the average person have? And the answer is that the average person that's an adult probably has several hundred trapped emotions, okay? And that might seem really daunting, but the reality of it is, as you start to release them, it's just a process and it doesn't take too long. And you get to a point where you're not really finding any anymore. It depends on a person's age and how many traumas they've been through, what they've been through in their life. That will help determine how many trapped emotions they have. And of course, also their level of emotional coping skills, their emotional intelligence, like we talked about before. So here's what the emotion code chart looks like. Okay. And we ask this question: is there a trapped emotion that can be released now? If the answer is yes, we use the chart, we find the column A, column B, then we identify the row, and then we identify the emotion. If the answer is unclear, we ask if it's inherited. If the answer is clear, we find an emotion, then we ask, is it necessary to decode more about this emotion? And then we'll ask if we do need to know more. Sometimes the subconscious mind will make us dig a little deeper before it will allow an emotion to be released. And so if that's the case, we might need to figure out what the age of the person was when this happened, or if it was absorbed from somebody else, and so on. Okay. So we're going to go through this more. Once we don't need to decode anything else about an emotion, then we can just swipe 3 times or 10 for an inherited emotion with the magnet or the hand on the governing meridian to release it. Okay. So we're gonna look at more at this in a bit here, but let's keep going. So there's our chart of emotions once again, and you'll notice that on the left side here we do have some organs listed, and this all goes back to Chinese medicine, really, and 5-element theory, and so on. But you don't need to worry about that right now. Okay, not a problem. In fact, you don't need to worry about that ever. Just wanted to point out that in that left column there are some organs and glands listed. So you can ask general questions of the subconscious mind, like, is there an emotion I can release now? Or is there an emotion I can release in order to improve my general health? So you can also ask more specific questions. And the more specific your questions are, the better the results usually are. Okay. So let's take a look at the chart here. You'll see we've got column A and column B here. In row 1, we have the emotions that are produced by the heart or small intestine. Okay. Row 2, these emotions come from the spleen or the stomach. Row 3, these emotions are coming from the lung or the colon. Okay. Okay. In row 4, we have emotions coming from the liver or gallbladder. Okay. Row 5 from the kidneys or bladder. And then row 6 from the glands or the sexual organs. Okay. We're going to talk more about these in detail, and we'll look at each emotion in one of these next modules. So specific questions, you can ask specific questions also. And you can ask things like, is a trapped emotion contributing to my low immunity, or my knee issue, or my trouble finding success, or my depression, or my indigestion after eating, etc. Okay, so you can ask specific questions, and I'll try to show you as we're working with volunteers how we do that. Okay, so when you need to know more, you might need to know who it came from or when it occurred. Okay, usually all you'll need to know is, if you do need to dig deeper, usually all you'll need to know is when it actually happened, how old the person was. So how we do that is we divide the life in half. Then we'll use increments of 10 years typically. For example, did it occur between 20 and 30 and so on? And then we can dive down into maybe 5-year increments and so on. Okay. So I'm going to show that to you here in just a minute, because we're going to take another volunteer. And remember that trapped emotions are the most common type of imbalance that occur to us as human beings, and they affect our physical bodies as well. So now, if you're feeling physical pain, today we're going to be working with physical pain. And if you're at a 7 or above on that 0 to 10 scale, and you're feeling that pain right now, and we'll work with one of you. And there's our chart of emotions. So we're going to be using that as well. All right. So let's see here. Okay. We worked on Inez first and had some fun there with some inherited emotions. Connie, we are going to work on you. You're okay with that? So let's see here, Connie. So you're in pain right now. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. Where's the pain at?
I have headache pain. I have pain in my neck and out to my right shoulder.
Okay. All right. And of those different areas, what's bothering you the most right now? What's hurting the most?
My head.
Your head. Okay. On a 0 to 10 scale, how would you rate the headache?
I'd say it was a 7.
It's at least a 7. Okay. All right. Okay. So here we go. Let's go ahead and we'll ask for a little help from up above really quick. You can feel free to do that yourself if you want. And the rest of you that are on this, If you want to ask for a little help on Connie's behalf, that's fine. I appreciate that. That's great. So give me just a moment here. All right, here we go, Connie. First thing I want to know is, are we connected energetically? In other words, can I act as proxy for you, is what we call it. And I get a yes answer. So that means our energies are definitely entangled. I can ask questions and get immediate answers on my own body. So let's ask, is there an underlying reason why you have this headache pain? Or another way to ask this is, do you have a trapped emotion we can release that's contributing to your headache pain? And the answer is yes, same answer. So great. We know there's a trapped emotion there. Your subconscious mind has a specific emotion in mind, a specific trapped emotion in mind. And now we have to place your heads and figure out what it is, okay? So what is this emotion? Is it listed in column A on our chart? No. So we know it's not in column A. We've eliminated 30 emotions from 60. We know it's in column B. Is it in one of the odd rows in column B? Yes. Is it in row 1 in column B? No. So is it in row 3 in column B? No. So it's got to be in row 5 in column B. Is that true? It is. All right. So we know it's one of these down here. Okay. Conflict, creative insecurity, terror, unsupported, or wishy-washy. Let's see what it is. Is the emotion conflict? No. Is it creative insecurity? No. Is it terror? Yes. It's actually an emotion of terror. Okay. And let me just write that down here really quick because I like to take notes. Terror. Okay. So let's ask, do we need to know more about this? Do we need to decode more about this trapped emotion before it can be released? Yes. Okay. All right. So Connie, how old are you right now?
49.
49. Okay. So let's ask, we'll divide your life in half. Okay. And we'll ask, did this occur earlier than age? We'll say 30. Did it occur earlier than 30? No. Between 30 and 40? No. Between 40 and 49? Yes. Between 40 and 45? No. Okay, so did this occur within the last, within the last year? Yes. Within the last 6 months? No. So not within the last 6 months, but within the last year. So going back about that far. Does anything come to mind for you? Does anything ring a bell? Anything come to your consciousness about what might have created this?
Not in that time frame.
Not in that time frame. Okay. No worries. Let's ask, do we need to know more about this? Not really. Okay. So your subconscious mind is saying, oh, that's all we need to know. Something happened. And we don't remember a whole lot of what happens to us consciously. The subconscious mind remembers everything, every face you've ever seen in the crowd, everything you've ever eaten or tasted or touched or smelled. It's all in there in that subconscious mind. So it remembers everything, but we don't remember a lot. I mean, hey, I confess, I lost my car in a parking lot one time. In fact, that's happened to me more than once. So there was something that happened. Now, I would say that probably this will come back to your memory. Okay. It might take a day or two, but it doesn't really matter if it does or not. Whatever happened, it might have just been a momentary thing that you've kind of put behind you and forgotten about. Okay. I mean, maybe you were driving and you almost got hit by somebody and it was terrifying for a moment. That could have developed a trapped emotion. But yeah, maybe you put it behind you and a couple of weeks later, you might have had a hard time remembering. So that's totally okay. Do we need to know anything else about this? We don't. So I'm going to go ahead and release this. Okay. Now, let's ask, did we release that trapped emotion of terror from you? We did. Okay. Now, can you stand up where you are? Can you stand up and walk around just a little bit?
You won't be able to see me.
Yeah, that's fine. The reason I like to have people get up and walk around just a little again is because when we release something like this, when we release a trapped emotions will cause bones to be misaligned and they'll cause organs to be out of balance and all kinds of things. So when people are having physical pain, I like to have them walk just a little. That's fine. You can come back now and sit down. I like to have them walk just a little because it allows things to more rapidly settle into where they're going to be. So on a 0 to 10 scale, how would you rate the headache now, Connie?
It's still pretty bad. Maybe a 6.
Maybe a 6. Okay. All right. So let's look at our chart again here and let's ask, you have another trapped emotion that we can release that's contributing to your headache? And the answer is yes. Okay, so there's another one. And is it listed in column A? It is. And is it in one of the odd rows? Yes. Is it in row 1 or row 3 or row 5? It's in row 5. So we're down here now. Is the emotion blaming? No. Is it dread? No. Is it fear? No. Horror? No. Is it peeved? No. So it wasn't any of those, which means it was inherited. And so let's see what this one is. All right. So is this inherited blaming or dread or fear? It's an inherited emotion of fear. And where'd you get this from when you were conceived? Did you get this from your mom? No, this one came from your dad. Okay. Did he get it from somebody earlier? He did. From his dad. Yep. Came from your father's father. And does this go back even further? Yes. How many generations? Does it go back 10 generations? No. 9? No. 8? No. 7? No. 6? 6. Okay. 6 generations. 6 generations, about 150 years. Okay. Do we need to know anything else about this? We don't really. So let's go ahead and release this now. We do 10 swipes. Okay, there we go. 10 swipes of that. And let's ask now, did that release that inherited trapped emotion of fear from you? Did that also release from your dad? Yes, and his dad and all those other people that had it? Yep. Okay. Okay, go ahead and stand and move around a little bit now, Connie, and let's see how that's feeling now compared to how it was feeling before. Okay, that's good. You can come back now. All right. 0 to 10, how would you rate that? Tune into your head now. Let's see how that's doing.
It still hurts. I'd say probably a 6.
Probably about a 6. Okay, no worries. All right. Now, sometimes with the emotion code, we're able to make immediate changes for people. And, and we saw that with Inez. Sometimes it takes time, even after you release the trapped emotion. Sometimes symptoms can take a while to go away and so on. But that's okay. Let's see if we can release another one here. And then we'll have to take another volunteer. So let's ask, do you have another trapped emotion that is contributing to this headache that you're having that we can release? And let's see what this is. Is it in column A? No. It's in column B. Is it in one of the odd rows? Is it in row 1? Yes. So is this emotion effort unreceived? So we're right here. Is the emotion effort unreceived? No. Is it heartache? No. Or insecurity? Yes. It's a trapped emotion of insecurity. Okay. And let's ask, do we need to know more about this emotion? I get a no. We don't need to decode it any further. So let's release it. Just 3 swipes, not inherited, just a regular trapped emotion, not inherited. And did we release that successfully? We did. Okay, go ahead and stand up and walk around just for a second there. And we'll let things settle into place there. And let's see what kind of a difference we've made there for you. How would you rate that now, 0 to 10?
I would say that it's gone down. I'd probably say a 4.
About a 4. Okay. All right, good. Good. Well, 4 is better than 7, right? Now, if we were to continue working with you, we might be able to release up to maybe 10 or maybe even 12 trapped emotions. All right. The body can usually release about that many in a given session. And you generally don't want to release more than about that many, because if you release more than that, then you can have kind of a bit of a reaction, okay, to that. So let's go ahead and we better get into our Q&A. Sorry about that. I lose track of time. So yeah, let's go ahead and try to answer some questions that have come up.
We have a lot of participants who want to know if you can please go over demonstrating how to go over the magnet, in what direction, and just
okay.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. Okay. So with a magnet, okay. First of all, let me explain. When I was first developing this work, I was using fairly expensive magnets that were developed by a company called Nikken. It's a Japanese wellness company. A lot of you have heard of them. They make wonderful magnets. I still use them, had great results in my practice with them. When I was writing the emotion code book, I got to a point where I realized, okay, if these are the only magnets that work for this, then I'm telling somebody they can buy the book for $20, but then they're going to need to spend $90 for this magnet. And at that point, I started testing other magnets. And what I have found is that really any magnet will work. You got a Hello Kitty magnet on your fridge or a magnet from your plumber. You got a magnet business card. Any kind of magnet works. And for example, this is a magnet that we sell on our website at discoverhealing.com. It has the chart of emotions printed on it just for convenience, but it's just a business card magnet. And so any kind of magnet works. Now, the governing meridian, one of the questions that often comes up is that the governing meridian flows from the tailbone up this direction. It flows this direction. So people often ask, well, okay, if we're swiping with a magnet to release a trapped emotion and we're going this direction, aren't we going against the flow of the meridian? And the interesting thing about that is we are. During the years that I was developing this work, I would ask the subconscious minds of my patients which direction I needed to go. And the direction was always the same. It was always against the flow of the meridian. Now, why that is exactly, I don't know. But after about 5 years of getting the same answer, I just decided, okay, well, that's the direction that everybody wants. So that's the way we'll go. So again, we do 3 swipes, okay, for a regular trapped emotion. If it's inherited, then we do 10. And the reason you're doing 10 is because you're not only releasing it from that person that you're working on, but you're also releasing it from whatever ancestors are holding this energy as well. And you want to be able to release it from them as well. So that's also what I found by asking the subconscious mind of my patients, how many times do we need to swipe here? Okay.
Yes. Can you please take us through the fingers and how to and show us how to get the answers from the test?
Yes. Okay. We're going to be covering that in more detail next time. But what we'll do here, let me give you let me show you here really quickly with the ring and ring test, how that one works. Okay. Here's what you do. Okay. You make a ring inside of a ring. And we're going to cover this in detail later, but make a ring in a ring and then say the word yes. And then pull on those rings a little bit, see if they want to stay together or break apart. Say the word no, think about the word no, and then test those rings, see if they want to stay together or break apart. Okay. So I'm going to go into detail on the muscle testing. And I believe that's in our next session, but that's one of the things that you can work on. And there are a number of other different methods that we're going to be teaching you. That's one method. One of the other things that you can do if you're using a pendulum, for example, okay, you can hold a pendulum, and you want to have the length. You don't want to have the length of the chain or the cord too long. What you want to do is have the length of that cord or chain about the same length as the width of your palm. Okay, and that's about the right width. And then you can use anything for this. And then what you do is you can ask for a yes answer. And for me, a yes answer, you can see it's going clockwise. Let me hold it up a little bit. It goes clockwise for a yes answer. If I ask for a no answer, then what happens is it starts to go counterclockwise for me. And you can test this yourself and see which way works best for you. But anyway, hopefully that one helps. We are going to be going over more detail. We'll do that in a lot more detail later. Okay.
Thank you so much. And then we do have an additional question from Brian. Does the emotion code work on 9 non-pain issues?
Yes, absolutely. The reason why on this first module, we were working with people that were in pain is because I wanted you all to see that emotions have a physical effect on people. But remember that trapped emotions are this huge contributing factor to depression and anxiety and phobias and panic attacks and PTSD and eating disorders and all kinds of things. They're a major underlying cause of all diseases, and they also contribute to so much physical pain. So I like to start with pain because, well, for example, we started with Inez, and She was a 7 on a 0 to 10 scale and was a 1 by the time we were done after releasing a couple of inherited trapped emotions. The thing about pain that's interesting and that's it makes it easy to demonstrate on a course like this is if somebody is in pain, for example, with Inez was a 7. She knew that she was really in pain. When she went to a 1, there was a huge obvious difference. And that's why I like to demonstrate, at least initially, with physical pain. But no, the emotion code helps all kinds of issues. And we're going to be talking more about that later. So, but this is just module 1. So it's just the introduction, really.
Thank you so much. And Chris, you have the mic.
Okay, perfect. So I had a question. This actually was, it's a few years old now, but my sister-in-law was in the hospital with a really bad appendicitis. And I just felt horrible for her. Like I felt it. Like I felt really bad for her, like most people do. But a month later, I ended up with the same bad, horrible appendicitis. So is there a way we can take on other people's emotions and create our own health issues? Or is there a way to maybe avoid, I don't know, creating our emotion? I don't know how to explain it really, but
yeah.
Do you get what I'm saying or what I'm asking?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, it is possible to take on other people's energy. And that's when we're using the emotion code. We'll see that in this course that there will be times when I'll be working with somebody demonstrating, and there will be times this will happen to you too, where maybe you find a trapped emotion of, let's say, grief, and you find out if you ask the subconscious mind, do we need to know more? And the subconscious says yes, and you figure out the age, and then the subconscious mind needs to know more. Oftentimes what happens is it wants you to know that this trapped emotion was actually absorbed from someone else. So if there's someone that you're connected to or someone that's in proximity to you and they're feeling an intense emotion, it may become trapped in your body. And so sometimes you're carrying not only your own emotional baggage, but sometimes you're carrying the baggage of other people. So that can definitely happen. So we'll talk about how to identify those and remove those later on.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're so welcome.
Okay, and Susan, you have the mic.
Thank you. I have a question in that if you have, like I happen to have issues with my neck going all the way down my whole spine with many different things, spondylolisthesis, scoliosis, arthritis, blah, blah, blah.
Okay.
If it's the whole back of the body, how many things do I need to release? Probably a lot, I'm guessing.
Well, could be. Yeah. I mean, I never know. Every single person is as unique as their own thumbprint, right? And so there's really no cookie cutter approach to this. But the reality of it is about 80% of the time when you remove the emotional baggage, the trapped emotions that are underlying trouble in the body, about 80% of the time, the trouble will go away. Now, that of course depends on how old you are and how much damage has been done and so on. But I've seen things happen that I never in my wildest dreams could have even imagined that were possible. So really anything is possible. It's so fascinating. I mean, if you think about the body as an energy field, think about your body. Your body is an energy field. And you've got these chronic issues going on. Well, every 7 years, you get a completely new body. All those cells are turning over all the time. And, if every 6 months, every year, every day, you're kind of still in that space, why is that? If your body's an energy field, and if it's capable of changing instantaneously, which it is, okay, why is it that your body is holding on to these patterns of distortion? Well, the biggest reason is the emotional baggage that you have. Now, in the last module, I think it is, we're going to be talking more about, we'll talk about the body code and how you can find other kinds of things as well. But the reason I wrote the emotion code book is first, before we developed the body code, is because so much of our trouble is due to our emotional baggage. I mean, it's just unbelievable, really. Pain is the body's number one way, most common way of telling us that something's wrong. But what I've come to understand is that every symptom that we have, not just physical pain, but infertility and asthma and digestive disorders and all those other mental, emotional issues that I talked about, the depression, the anxiety, the self-sabotage of all kinds, it's all linked into our emotional baggage. And so by starting to get rid of that emotional baggage, I mean, all kinds of things can change. Your life can really transform. And in one of these modules, we're going to be talking about the heart itself. And that's going to be the best one of all, I think, because we're going to be talking about how the heart will put up a wall around itself to protect itself. And that wall is made of emotional baggage. We're going to learn how to release all of that baggage so that your heart can really be open. And in the practice that I was in, I spent about 20 years in practice in one form or another. And during the last 10 years of my practice, most of the people that I saw had been told there was really no hope for them at all, no help for them at all. Western medicine had nothing to offer these people. And what I found was that all these people that were so sick and had all these chronic diseases, they all had this heart wall phenomenon going on, which is part of the emotion code. And it became a real key thing to helping them get well from their other issues. So, the reality of it is that there is probably a lot that can be done, and you don't need to be, you don't need to get discouraged. It's just a process, and kind of like brushing your teeth. If you release a trapped emotion every day, probably in about a year, you're going to be getting pretty close to not having any left.
I love it. I love it.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Susan. Sure.
Dr. Bradley, thank you so much. Is there anything you want to close off our meeting with, or anything that we have to look forward into our next session?
This work is really so easy and so powerful. My goal for all of you, and my hope for all of you, is that by the end of these sessions, by the end of this course, you're going to really be able to do this work. You're going to be able to feel like you really own it, and it's easy for you, and it can change your life in so many amazing ways, as well as the lives of your loved ones. And if it's something that you really like and you really enjoy, you can end up becoming certified. You can do it for a living if you want to. We have people all over the world doing it. So I want to thank you all for being here.
Thank you so much, Dr. Bradley. It was so wonderful to be here with you. Okay.
Thank you all.